This video is gonna be amazing because it's about RC Cola, the literal third wheel in the soft drink industry. In Europe, it's in a comfortable third position behind Coke and Pepsi, obviously. In America, I'm not 100% sure because I honestly don't know how influential Mountain Dew is. Now, I have seen the memes and everything about Mountain Dew, and as a European, I have drank Mountain Dew, and my opinion of it instantaneously was wow, this is literally liquid sugar. I would not expect anything else from Americans. So, maybe it's in fourth place in America, maybe it's in third place in America. Company Man for Today has made a bold claim that the RC Cola is failing. I have seen it in the shops, I haven't heard anything bad about it or that they are in financial troubles, so we're just gonna have to see what happens here.
RC Cola, the joke of the soda industry. That's the
I told you, everyone knows that.
perception, right? Coke and Pepsi are the two pro ball players engaged in this intense one-on-one, and RC is the kid shooting at the hoop thinking he's part of it. It's not completely off, but I think RC deserves a little more admiration. RC is not a kid shooting hoops. They're more like a
Okay, so I have instantaneously a question about RC Cola. Is it a relatively new thing? Because Coke has been around for 100 plus years or something like that. And Pepsi, well, it has also been around for an extremely long time. Instantaneously, my question is RC Cola behind them just because it was late to the party? Or is it behind them because of a specific reason?
pro ball player that tore their ACL years ago and has never been the same. Oh, RC is the Derrick Rose of the cola industry. You know what?
I have absolutely no idea about anything basketball, so, yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that.
But I fear my metaphor is getting too deep here. It'll make more sense in a minute. The beginning of RC Cola takes place in the early 1900s and is centered around this very
Early 1900s. Okay, that gives us a decent amount of information that it actually had a good chance to start. Because that was my first question. Was it just late to the party? Because it's not a bad drink. I have drank it and it's a distinguished taste from cola and Pepsi. So technically, if with enough marketing, it should technically have one third of the shares of the people buying it. Well, on a technical level, that should be true.
busy guy named Claude Hatcher. He had two jobs. He was a qualified pharmacist and at the same time co-owned a grocery wholesale business. The other owner
Every soft drink, I'm pretty sure at this point, has been invented by an ex-pharmacist from the 1900s.
was his father. They started it with two other guys, but bought them out of their shares after only a couple years, so Claude had a lot going on. As a wholesaler of groceries,
Smart.
they were basically the middleman between the manufacturers and the stores, so they made a lot of deals with both ends. Well, one day, Claude was talking to a representative from the Coca-Cola company named Columbus Roberts. The mission that day was to buy a large amount of Coca-Cola from him and then sell it to the various grocery stores that they dealt with. As I'm sure we've all experienced, when you buy a
Let me guess. He didn't get to buy it, or he bought it and he didn't suddenly like the taste, so he decided to make something else better?
large amount of something, you usually get a discount. That's part of what makes this business model work so well. For whatever
True.
reason. I would guess because Coke was
Buying in bulk is, by the way, always a thing. Stores buy in bulk. They don't just buy it for the retail price of the manufacturer, they buy it at a certain discount because they bought a lot. Because when you are making the product, your money is generated from literally the stores that buy the product. It kind of makes sense. But there's a reason for them to sell in bulk. Because the more they have sold, the more they know that they can restock their supplies with. The more they know they can churn out with production. The safer they essentially feel. That's why a lot of stores get discounts. Well, pretty much every store gets a discount when buying in bulk. If a store can buy in bulk. And keep in mind, in business, buying in bulk doesn't mean you buy, I don't know, one pallet. Well, depending on the product, one pallet may be like even a 20% discount under the right circumstances if it's a specific item that, rarely is bought in that amount. But, for more normal items, like for example Coca-Cola, You need to buy a truck full of that bad boy to get a decent discount.
Was so popular, this representative was not budging and would not give Claude any kind of discount on this large amount that he was looking to buy. The argument got pretty heated, and
Huh.
at the end of it, he vowed that he would never buy anything from Coca-Cola ever again. He said from this point forward, he would make his own. Let's face it, this sounds like an empty threat. What's he
Yep. Honestly, there's only two ways that story could have ended. Either he decided to make his own because he didn't like the taste because of some magical reason, or he just didn't couldn't buy the product at that time. It's not a hard guess to make in a video like this.
gonna do? Put everything on hold, lock himself in his basement, and create his own competing soda that somehow had a chance against such a ridiculously strong brand? I shouldn't laugh, because that's exactly what happened. He emerged with this formula for a
Admittedly, that is kind of a crazy thing to do.
ginger ale that must have been pretty tasty because a lot of people were buying them. It was so successful that after a couple years, Claude and his father made the decision to abandon their wholesale business in favor of producing this ginger ale full time. That was their business for the next few years, and things were
Okay.
good, but I think there was a very obvious way to continue growing this business and take things
So how large was Coke at that time? If Coke was doing wholesales to distributors at that time, that means that, well, they were still pretty early to the market, because I haven't even heard in history that the Coke had any significant pushback from their competition. All I have heard about Coke's history is that, they kind of started and it slowly took off. Wasn't too successful at the very start, but later on it exploded, as we all know nowadays.
to that next level. Let me ask you, in the soda market, today or 100 plus years ago, what's the better selling product? Is it cola or is it ginger ale?
I don't even know what ginger ale is. In my country, there's nothing called ginger ale. There's just cola.
I hope everyone said cola. But then my second question is, which is more competitive? My point here is cola.
Ginger ale is... No, wait. This is a trick question. So there are two ways to look at something like this when you're asked what is more competitive. So first of all, is cola more competitive? A lot of people would probably say no, because let's face it, Coca-Cola pretty much has cornered the market in a lot of respects, honestly. Pepsi is a strong second, but it is a second, and most people do pick cola over Pepsi. Anecdotal evidence, but evidence nonetheless, is the fact how much cola do you see in stores versus how much Pepsi do you see in stores. Cola is crushing it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's less competitive. It's most likely more competitive than ginger ale because it has crushed its opposition so strongly. But then again, you could say that ginger ale is more competitive because it's a smaller market, and depending on how many players are in that market, it could actually be seriously fierce. Like, every half a year a new taste, something like that. Win a car with ginger ale. Everyone has to have one of those. So, it's actually so this is an actually super seriously hard question to answer. Is cola more competitive because it always crushes the opposition, and cola as in the soft drink style? Or is it ginger ale because they need to fight tooth and nail for survival, potentially? I'm gonna go with cola, but this is kind of a coin flip.
Is where the real money's at, but because of that, it's more competitive. So they gave it a try in a smart way. Even in 1910, you couldn't just compete directly with Coca-Cola, you had to have an angle.
1910, yeah, that's pretty early. 100 years, huh?
Their angle was offering cherry cola. They called it Chero Cola.
Dude, I have not seen cherry cola in forever. That thing was wildly good. Man, I want some cherry cola.
To my knowledge, Cherry Coke didn't exist yet. I know for sure they didn't start selling it officially until 1985, so I think they found their angle here. Chero Cola soon became their core product. It quickly surpassed their ginger ale sales, and they actually renamed the company after it. Over the next decade, they had some unlucky issues with sugar. World War I made it expensive and scarce, so they made...
Ah, that is true. I completely forgot about that fact. It doesn't matter if you know this or not, but it is kind of a fact that a lot of things like sugar and things like that were pretty scarce while world wars were happening, because there's only so many places that actually produce decent quantities of sugar.
their own refinery to ensure they'd have a bunch of it, but then soon after the war, the sugar prices dropped, and now they had all this sugar that was almost worthless. Despite their issues in making it, they had no trouble selling it. They were starting to be a bit of a threat to Coca-Cola, so I don't know how I feel about this. In what I can only see as an attempt to hinder the competition, Coca-Cola sued Chero Cola, claiming the names were too similar and they
Smart. Smart, smart, smart. By the way, this is what every big business pretty much nowadays does. If you just try to file a patent for something that, I don't know, has the word Apple in it, chances are Apple is gonna say, well, if you try to do that, we're gonna sue you. You can't really nowadays even use, like, for example, a fruit that has had a bite out of it, because Apple will try to go after you. And this is pretty much the situation with all big companies. They are extremely beyond fierce when it comes to protecting their brand name. Even though brand loyalty, I would pretty much nowadays say, is an absolute meme, the only real brand loyalty that you can nowadays call is, well, if you go to a gas station, you fill your car up, which store's benefits are you using where you get like 1 cent or something like that for buying groceries next time you're there. That brand loyalty is bullshit nowadays, but brand recognition is literally where it's at. And that's why all, without exception, by the way, big companies and even smaller ones will fight usually tooth and nail to protect their branding, brand recognition, and copyrights on the brands.
shouldn't be able to use the word cola in their name, since, that was their thing. Coca-Cola won the lawsuit, and in 1923, Chero Cola was forced to drop the cola from their name. They would now simply go by Chero, and that was...
Oh, that sounds bad, honestly. That sounds really bad. And by the way, since it's called RC Cola, I can pretty much predict what happens now. This is an interesting phenomenon because it's actually happening to Google. People don't say search it nowadays. People say, well, Google it. The moment a word becomes associated with an item in general, for example, the use of a search engine becomes known widely as Googling, Google no longer can lay claim on the copyright of the name Google. And considering RC Cola is still a thing, people that my assumption is the reason that they can do it is because, well, people just started to associate soft drinks with the word cola by default. So they were no longer able to just patent everything with the name cola. So then they went Coca-Cola. And that's the full name. That's just a hunch, but, well, let's see if it's true.
It's not good. It's not the name people recognized, and it didn't have the same ring to it. The name change caused sales to plummet, since they were now at...
And that's, by the way, true almost for every product. Brand recognition is just that important. You never want to lose it. That's why a lot of companies, a lot of businesses who are, they're slowly going down under, at least in their perspectives, and they're making less money. And they do something wild. They do something, they can do a complete rebranding of themselves. If it's a place that people have competitiveness picking between, then people usually always gravitate towards something they know. And if it's even if it's the old product, but it's a name people do not recognize, people will not buy it. So, getting your opponent to drop their name from cola is absolutely devastating.
Having issues making it and selling it, they decided it wasn't worth it anymore and soon discontinued it altogether. I might have given up at this point, so I have to admire their resilience. They had already built their business around a ginger ale and then around a cola, and now they needed a third product to see that level of success. And they did it, this time with a fruit-flavored drink called Knee High. Now that became the core of their business, and...
Never heard of it, but these guys are as persistent as cockroaches at this point.
The new name of the company. It got them through the next decade, and then things got tough again. Two main things: the Great Depression and, sadly, the death of Claude Hatcher, who's just the backbone of the company, founder, innovator.
He hasn't told about a lot of things that this guy did. He just went into a basement and never came out until he made the drink. Interesting.
Leader, but there's a silver lining to it. The guy who replaced him, Hilary Mott, rose to the occasion. He was promoted from VP of Sales and figured out which products should be discontinued, and the ones they kept, he started producing them more efficiently. He not only got them
That is smart. And that is the good part why you actually promote people from inside the company to head positions. Now nowadays, admittedly, it happens a little bit rarer because the top CEO, the top 200 CEOs, for example, if you look at that list, usually if one quits their job, he's replaced by another guy who was in the top 200s. It's a little bit inefficient. Sometimes it's obviously good because these people are extremely widely capable and smart. Like it doesn't matter how much you hate them, they are absolutely amazing for the most part at their jobs and understanding what they should do. But promoting someone from within the company does have this kind of benefit. I personally know some people who have been promoted smaller companies, admittedly, but from inside the company to a leading position. And this is exactly what they do. They take their already existential knowledge and they just, uh, go 200% with it and completely optimize and make efficiency around what they understand fully.
through it. The company was now better than ever and looking to expand. It's kind of funny because after everything that happened, they found themselves in the exact same position they were in over 20 years earlier, successful in making a non cola product, but trying to find their way into that potentially lucrative cola market. In 1934, they tried it again when they introduced Royal Crown. Their plan this time was to use all of their knee high earnings to promote.
Okay, so the problem while RC Call is not recognized is pretty much what I actually said at the very start. It's the fact that it was too late to the game. Because at the very start of the video, he made the formula for RC Cola when Coke was already in full swing, it seems like. So yeah, obviously that is an absolutely huge problem. I don't even know if you can make a new like soft beverage something like that nowadays and be really successful with it.
Promote Royal Crown. They were the first to do taste tests and they would advertise the results. Evidently, they came back saying that people preferred them over Coke.
Wait a minute, Royal Crown Cola. Or was it just the word Coke? Where was it? Cola? No, it's also a cola, so they didn't get sued here? That's interesting. Why? Because it's three words, not just two? Well, yeah, actually, Chero Cola does sound very too close to Coca Cola. So, yeah, this is different branding 100. But trust me, Coke definitely tried to sue them over this. 100% guaranteed.
Coke or Pepsi. They paid for endorsements from some of the biggest celebrities of the time. Their big
Smart.
break came in 1944 when it was ruled that they could now use the word cola. So they did. They changed the soda's name to R.
That means I was right. Cola did try to sue them, but again, that is literally to be expected. Companies like Cola and Apple, anything else that is very recognizable as a brand, will pretty much try to sue almost everyone who just have one word in common with them. It's just a business strategy, and it's a hell of an effective one.
RC Cola, and 15 years later, it became the new name of the company. The 1960s was the best decade.
So RC stands for Royal Crown Cola. Good thing they actually renamed themselves to RC. Oof. Royal Crown Cola. Damn.
They ever had, and the only time it looked like they had a real chance in ever catching up to Coke or Pepsi.
Company man, you usually show us some kind of statistics. It'll show me one line. Show me one line of sales. I'm begging you. I love that shit. I live for that shit. Show me a line of sales data. Show me a line of revenue data. I don't care if someone says, "Oh, Cola's better sales than." Show me the line. Show me the sales. Show me the money. That's what we want to see. Come on.
Do you know Diet Right? It's a diet soda that I would call
No.
insignificant to the industry today, but it used to be big. It was introduced by RC Cola in 1962, making it the first ever diet soda to be mass produced. I think we can say, due to its head start, it was the best selling diet soda throughout the 1960s and the fourth best selling soda overall, behind Coke, Pepsi, and.
I'm pretty sure people did not care about diet sodas. Diet sodas have never been really popular. I think currently they're the most popular that they have ever been because everyone is so anti-sugar. Because people slowly came to the conclusion, wait a minute, maybe remember how grandma cooked everything in literal lard? And yet kids still didn't go fat. You know how literally everyone ate everything as fatty as possible previously and still didn't get fat? Well, that's because it was fat. And turns out now a lot of people think that, well, maybe fat wasn't the problem. Maybe the problem kind of was created when everything was packed full of sugar. I also, by the way, subscribe to that idea. Admittedly, I'm no doctor or anything, but I don't know, seems true.
and RC Cola. So let's think about that. Coke and Pepsi are 1 and 2, obviously, but 3 and 4 were both from RC Cola, and diet sodas were getting huge, so you can only expect that to grow. In October
Really?
of 1969,
What do you mean huge?
it all came to an end when the
Show me. I want to see the sales of Diet Coke between of RC Cola and Diet Coke separately. Normal Coke versus RC Coke. Come on.
US government banned the use of the artificial sweetener called cyclamate, which is what they used in Diet Right and basically every diet soda at the time. Now, just to be clear, I'm not a scientist in any way, so don't rely on what I say here, but it appears that this stuff was banned under strange circumstances. The main reason.
Bruh. Probably cola because they wanted to make their own diet version of something. Again, lobbying is a real tool.
Was a study concluding that when given to rats, it causes bladder cancer. That study has since been criticized. I guess they gave them ridiculously high doses of it, and there's been studies since saying it's perfectly fine for humans. Sugar companies may have been involved. The general consensus is that this stuff.
Sugar? Sugar? Oh! Oh, because this is a direct replacement for sugar. Okay, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Seems to be harmless. It is still banned in the US, but it's allowed in most of the rest of the world, including all of Europe. Again, I don't know, seems sketchy, but of course, don't rely on me when it comes to forming your stance on cyclamate. Either way, it doesn't matter when it comes to Diet Right. The fact is, the government banned it, they couldn't produce their successful product anymore, and even when they tried to alter it using different sweeteners, the public is freaked out. They don't want anything to do with diet.
Oh, also, by the way, this is a huge thing in products and companies. So there is a big deal. If this ban did not happen, honestly, maybe RC Cola, from everything that I can gauge from its history, could have actually been a lot more of a, maybe in the second, or maybe if luck has it, first place. So the thing is, products work essentially like this. You can have cola directly crushing RC Cola in every way, shape, and form until RC Cola creates a Coke Zero, essentially. Their Diet Right Pure Zero Cola. And if that thing is amazing, because that's a completely different market, you need to understand. Technically, still a soft drink. Technically, that's true. But the people it serves are a completely different market from the average people who just buy Coke normally. Because, well, not eating sugar is a completely different market, honestly, when it comes to these sort of things. So, if cola doesn't have anything that can rival the Diet Right, and the Diet Right completely takes over the market as the zero sugar thing, then it actually has a good chance to push its other products faster and stronger and be a legitimate competitor to Coke. Admittedly, you know, that's only theory. You actually need to do it, but it is an opportunity.
Sodas right now. Not only was that exact product not allowed, the whole industry was effectively gone, and they were scared. 2 times now. They put too many eggs in one basket.
Their logo is ridiculously close to cola. If that product is successful, it shouldn't be... Dude, no, they must have gotten sued, because look at this, it's red and white. I'm pretty sure Coke also just was blatantly red and white at the start. Admittedly, their logo was a little bit more illustrative, but man, if Coke also had red and white and they just named it Diet Right Cola, then people may have not even known this is not Coca-Cola. There is a chance. There is a chance.
And look what happened. They put everything
Wait. Let's actually look at this picture again. Sugar-free Diet Right Cola. Less than one. Yeah. It doesn't say RC anywhere. This is a blatant. This is a blatant try to get shares of the cola market. 100%, no doubt.
one basket, and look what happened. They put everything toward Chero Cola, and then it was taken from them. Then they put a lot toward Diet Right, and again, completely taken from them. They had a very human response when they chose to diversify. But this was bad too. It was too much.
Diversifying sounds honestly like a little bit of a horrible decision. They have tried a lot of things, and they seem to have been reasonably successful with a lot of them. But man, diversifying, like, how many ways of diversifying are there really when you're a soft drink? Ask yourself that question before deciding to do something as, and it is, by the way, a pretty radical and drastic decision to diversify. Even if your top product literally got axed, I don't know if diversifying is ever the right move in that situation. Unless you have something in the works, maybe. Unless you plan for something like that, maybe. But no one really does plan for something as drastic as that. So, that probably bit them pretty hard. Again, there's a reason RC Cola is a laughing stock number 3 currently in the world, because there's no real other competition to Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So, this probably didn't end well for them.
Much diversity. They started acquiring some juice companies, tile companies, like the tiles you install in the.
Okay, this is way more radical than when I said radical, this is not what I meant. This is literally not what I meant. I actually thought, they're just gonna do what they did previously and try different types of. No. That's like asking to be punished.
Floor picture frames, lamps, Arby's. They bought Arby's. They were no longer a soft drink company. By the 1980s, that part of their business was only about half of their revenue. In my mind,
half of their revenue is still huge. Admittedly, I do get the point. I think what they're trying to go there. If they made a decent amount of revenue, they kind of can risk it and toss in their towel to a bunch of different things, because everything he named is extremely different. Like, let's see, where is it? Tiles, Arby's, lamps, and something else he also mentioned, I think. Those are very extremely different things that have almost nothing in common. You can't even cross-promote them. Well, admittedly, you could put the RC logo on tiles, but that's probably not gonna work out, So, yeah, they just essentially tried to throw their hat in all the directions and see what sticks. Maybe something sticks and it's not bad. Admittedly, from that aspect, it's not the worst type of idea, but still kind of radical to say the least. Which means the company did not honestly have, the company did probably not expect a lot. And they were kind of seeing if anything else works. Because they probably thought the cola part was done at that point.
If you want to catch up to Coke or Pepsi, the only way you have a chance is if you put every single possible dollar into doing it. Advertising, market research.
Yeah, that sounds true. Not sounds true, but that must 100% be true. No idea if this is true, but if I had to bet all my money on if it's true, I'd say yeah, 100%.
Product innovation, but now half their attention was elsewhere, and it just made things impossible.
Yeah, that stagnates you. That essentially kills your shot at being a competitor, unless a miracle happens. And again, I don't think a miracle happened, considering we already know the future.
I think we can say that it was this decision that took them out of the race. Coke and Pepsi pulled so far ahead, it was just over. I don't view anything from this point.
Man, but why would you actually do that? Why would you do something as radical as that? Because technically, you have proven time and time again that you are capable of getting back into the race and throwing in the hat. Your CEO at this moment in time, I am presuming, is the guy from sales? Was it sales? I think it was sales. So he, of all people, should understand the significance of concentrating on successful things that have proven time and time again to be successful and withstood the test of time. This decision, what a strange history. Honestly, that decision alone probably deserves some kind of, like, I don't know, historic video. There must have been a lot happening that we don't know of in this, that's not told even in this video, because it just seems awkward. It's just a pivot into a pivot.
Is being too significant in the rivalry between Coke and RC because, let's face it, RC gave up. But here's the highlights of what followed. In 1984, after 80 years of existing as their own company, they were acquired by this shady character named Victor Posner. He was known for his
Have I heard that name before? Not sure.
hostile takeovers and had this reputation for sucking the life out of companies for his own personal gain. He cut
Wow, who would have expected something like that could happen? Ah, come on. Come on. Obviously that can happen.
costs everywhere he could, and it resulted in RC falling even further.
If we know one thing at this moment, even like 20, 30, 40 years ago when your options were a lot limited, it was still not an idea to cut costs and make your things less good, because that usually always leads to bad things. I don't even know if I know of an example of a company that cut costs in the quality of their items, of their foods, of their whatevers, and then made it huge. Usually it's the other way around. Companies invest in quality and then become huge.
If anyone had any hopes of them ever catching up to Coca-Cola, this would have crushed them. In 1993, Posner had a whole mess of legal troubles. It resulted in him giving up the company that owned RC. The company was now called Triarch, and the new owners did put more attention toward the cola, but
Triarch? Isn't that like a gaming studio or something?
what can you do at this point? Triarch bought Snapple and grouped it together with RC and a few other beverages, and then in 2000,
Wait, what do you mean grouped it up with a bunch of other beverages? I'm not, that term can mean a lot.
sold all those beverages to
Cadbury?
Schweppes. They quickly sold RC's international
Well, Schweppes is technically big because I think Schweppes is the only one who does Schweppes things.
rights to a Canadian company called Cott. There were a few more changes that led to the US rights of RC Cola being held by Dr. Pepper. So
That is hilarious.
today, if you buy it in the US, it comes from Dr. Pepper. Otherwise,
Oh. Yeah, the RC Cola is an absolute joke in America also. Well, at least now I know that. So Dr. Pepper is third, RC Cola is fourth, maybe, at best.
it comes from Cott. I think we can agree. Today, not many people care about RC Cola, and that's fine. But I also feel like it gets a lot of disrespect, and I don't agree with it.
A Dr. Pepper machine.
Yes, oh, I can taste it now.
It was a mirage.
An RC Cola machine.
Yes, Coca-Cola
Damn.
won the feud. Anybody would agree with that. But I would argue they had a lot of luck along the
The funny part about the Coca-Cola, him saying Coca-Cola won the feud, this video is about RC Cola, so you probably think that, Coca-Cola was feuding against RC Cola, but in reality, Coke probably didn't think too much of them. That's most likely the thing, because Pepsi is kind of ignored, because again, Cola or Pepsi, most people kind of say Cola. Pepsi is obviously good and whatnot. I kind of like Pepsi a lot, but still, it's Cola. Pepsi wasn't even mentioned pretty much in this video. In reality, this company was also against Pepsi.
way. In the 1920s, I don't know what was up with that court decision that made Chero Cola change their name, but 20 years later, there was a different decision. So I'd say Coke was pretty lucky to get that ruling in the first place. Could you imagine?
No, if Coke wasn't that big at the time, it's not lucky. Again, I kind of explained that. It's an actual real thing. Again, Google is literally, if a dictionary adds Google as a, term, if a dictionary nowadays for some reason, or any other company adds the term Google as not a company, but a term to do something, Google will literally email them a cease and desist, or they're getting sued. Because Google doesn't want to lose their name. They don't want anyone to use the word Google by default.
If RC hadn't had that setback. In the 1960s, the government banning cyclamate. That was a controversial decision that, again, killed their most promising product and scared them away from the industry. What if that hadn't happened? In the 1980s, the company was hostily taken over by an owner that ignored the brand. What if that hadn't happened? What if all three had?
I wonder what that guy actually gained from buying a brand and completely ignoring it. Kind of a little bit strange.
Hadn't happened. Most of that was bad luck and out of their control. I would argue that if they had a little better luck, we would probably have 3 main colas today. Or maybe they would have knocked out one of them. Who knows? My point is, RC put up a good fight. Let's show them a little respect. Let me know in the comments.
Meh.
Do you have a little more respect for RC Cola? Because that was my...
Suggested new Coke, a complete disaster, question mark. Oh, did Coke do a rebranding recent? No, that's probably old.
mission. Also, have you ever tried it? It's been so insignificant for the past 40, 50 years, you may have just passed it right up. Finally, does my Derrick Rose metaphor make a little more sense now?
Pepsi bigger than you think. Dr. Pepper bigger than you knew. Oof. Oh, no, not bigger than you think, bigger than you knew. Ah, interesting. Dr. Pepper actually owns a lot of stuff, if I'm not mistaken. And Pepsi definitely owns a lot of stuff. Pepsi owns a shitload of stuff, in fact. So yeah, Pepsi is definitely bigger than you think. Because most people associate Pepsi as just a drink. In reality, Pepsi, owns stuff. A lot of stuff, in fact. Well, anyway, that's pretty much the video. Pretty interesting. A little bit sad that we didn't see any statistics where I could absolutely enjoy myself to that most fullest extent, but well, whatever. An interesting lesson in history. An interesting lesson in history, definitely. So, subscribe.